What shall we talk about?
Responsibility.
Huh?
Responsibility.
Passion.
Oh, we want to discuss responsibility and passion. Anything else?
Love.
Love?
So can we talk about insight and thought?
What's up?
Insight and thought.
You can't hear.
Insight and thought.
Insight and thought. I'm sorry, you have to do, I can't hear. You have to speak a little slowly and clearly because the acoustics are not very good here. So, responsibility, passion, love, and thought and insight. Which shall we begin with? Responsibility. We talked about it the other day, about being responsible. One is responsible for something, right? Responsible to look after if you have a dog, or if you have a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a husband and wife, or you are responsible for cooking proper meal, or responsible for looking after the garden and so on and on and on. What does, you are responsible for something, right? For a person, for a thing, or for an idea, an ideal for which you are responsible and to see that you carry it out. It's always responsible for something. Is there in itself the feeling of responsibility not for something? Responsible. Which includes, I think, responsible for everything. Not only my children, my parents, my garden, my dog, my house, but responsible for humanity. For all human beings, for all living things, for all nature. Do you feel anything of that kind? Responsible for it, not for something, but responsibility, that feeling of, that quality of inward, we'll use the word feeling for the time being, feeling you are responsible. Do you have such feeling? You may feel responsible while you are here for your room, responsible to see that you are punctual at meals, and so on, so on. And when you are at home, do you feel responsible? Or do you leave it to your parents? Responsible implies responding, reacting correctly to any challenge, to any happening. To act correctly, which means truly, accurately. I think that's the full meaning of that word, responsible. I feel I'm responsible while I'm here for everything that's happening here. How you are educated, what you eat, what you feel. Not try to correct, not try to persuade, responsible. When I go to India, I feel the same thing in the various schools, when I talk and so on. Being responsible not for something, but the quality of total feeling of, what's the word of doing the right thing at all times, not dependent on environment, not dependent on persuasion, all the rest of it. Totally, the feeling of total responsibility for all human beings. Do you feel that? That can only come, I think, when one realizes, sorry, are you getting bored with this? You're sure? I think that can only arise naturally when one realizes that you are not a separate individual from the rest of the world. Because the world is you, right? I wonder if you see that. Because you have your feelings, your hurts, your emotions, your fears, your pleasures, your griefs, your sorrows, your affections, attachments. It is the same in every human being right throughout the world. They are attached to their wives, to their property, to their little bank account, or attached to an idea, to a belief, to a God, and so on. There are also, if you go to India or anywhere else, their griefs, their anxieties, their uncertainties, their confusion. And when you come here, it is the same. Right? So you are the world, not you are an individual separate from everything else. So when you have that feeling, that clarity of perception, from that arises a total responsibility. Do you see this? At least, even verbally, you understand this. Or intellectually, or as an idea, a concept. Do you see it? You can see the reason of it. You can see the logic of it. But the reason, logic are very, very limited. Right? But if you go beyond logic and reason and feel or come into the contact with this reality, with this truth, that you are the world. Whatever you do affects the world, because you are part of that stream. Then when you come to feel that, then from that naturally arises the strength of responsibility. Which is really what we're talking about. You wanted to know about love, right? Or passion. You want to go on with this? Huh?
I think it's not clear that whatever I do affects the world. I think that's not clear to me.
So if you think and act as a Frenchman, isolated, geographically within the boundaries of frontiers, both physically as well as psychologically, it does affect the world, doesn't it?
Yes. But I'm thinking of some action that I might do in private or...
Wait, so there is, are you dividing, there is private sector and public sector? As the Labour Party and the Socialists talk about it?
In a sense, if I don't look after my dog properly, do you see what I'm trying to say?
I understand, but are we dividing the private activities and public activities? Or is it a total sense of activity? In which there is no private and public and mine and yours. It's the feeling that you are the whole of human being, the entire humanity, and you are the representative of that humanity, which is logically so, psychologically. When that is really perceived deeply, action is always, though they may be personal, but it is related to the whole. I wonder if I'm conveying anything at all.
So you're talking about it as a feeling, which makes it sort of a concept or an abstraction.
Not a feeling, I can't find the right, we'll find the right word. What word would you use?
I don't know, when you say feeling, it seems to
All right,
imply-
I said for the time being we will use the word feeling. So what word would you use? If you have that clarity, how would you convey it to me verbally? Go on. You're English teacher, come on. Complete silence. But whatever word we use, feeling, insight, so on, you get the feeling of it. You see it. Don't you see it? Don't you perceive the truth of this? All right, if we say perceive, what do you mean by that word perceive? Do you perceive it intellectually? Verbally? Do you perceive it visually? Optically? All those are included, aren't they? You perceive by reading optically, you see France, England, British, French, insisting that I'm British and you're French. And that action is narrowed, limited. And when there is feeling, when there is the perception of this truth that you are the entire humanity, psychologically, then from that flowers the feeling of total responsibility. I can't put it any other way, choose your own words to express it, but you can, have we conveyed this to each other, right? Have we? Right. Now from that arises, what is love? You asked that question, let's go into it. What is love? Don't be shy of expressing it. Put it in your own words.
Love is responsibility for someone else.
Huh?
Responsibility for someone else.
Responsibility for someone else. Is that love? I feel responsible for Whisper. I look after him, brush him, take him for a walk, feed him, see that he's, etc., so on. Is that duty or responsibility?
Responsibility.
Do you see the difference between duty and responsibility? Duty, I must help my mother and father. I may turn that into a duty.
As a dad.
And in that duty, is there love? Go find, inquire, go into it with me. It's your duty to the country to become a soldier in order to fight and kill. Duty for the crown, all the blood. All that is said about war. It's your duty to your country, to your God, to your king, or whatever it is. Is there love in that?
Love for your country?
No. When you use the word duty, as they do, it's your duty to become a soldier. All the implications of becoming a soldier. It's your duty when there is war to kill. Now, in that duty, is there love? I may be oversimplifying it, but go into it. You can expand it, elaborate the whole thing. But where there is duty and the implicit understanding in that duty, obedience, right? Is there love? Or is love has its own responsibility and will act according to that love and responsibility? If duty has no love, then it has no place in human communication.
Well, it seems that duty comes out because of a kind of a pressure you have.
Yeah.
Whether when you're responsible, you don't have any pressure, it's just...
That's right, all right. When there is duty, there is the pressure of the environment, pressure of opinion, pressure of the recruiting officer, and so on, so on, so on. Where there is responsibility, there is no pressure. So what does that mean? Go into it. When there is no pressure, but yet there is responsibility, what's implied in that?
It means that you're not acting out of fear, you're acting out of something else.
What does that mean? You are not acting out of fear. You are not acting out of duty. You are not acting from a personal prejudice, right? Personal conclusions, opinions. So what is that state of being which says, there is no pressure, but only responsibility? What is that state?
It sounded like you were implying there that if a person is acting according to his personal wishes and personal likes and dislikes, then they're not being responsible.
So we said that the other day when we discussed this question of like and dislike, where it leads to. Remember, we went into that very carefully. If you eliminate all that, like and dislike, duty, no pressure, and because there is no pressure, there is responsible. What is that state? What's that quality?
You could say freedom. You're not caught in ideas.
All right, freedom from duty, freedom from like and dislike, freedom from pressure, persuasion, direction. Persuasion means direction, doesn't it? I persuade you to do something. Because I have certain ideas, opinions, judgments, a direction, and I persuade you. When there is persuasion, a direction, it becomes authority. So put away all that authority, like and dislike, persuasion, pressure, duty. Then there is freedom. You say this. There is freedom. And what is that state where there is no pressure of any kind from external or inward pressure? You understand? You got that? You understand that state where there is no pressure from anybody, from society, from the priests, from religious, gurus, all the rest of that circus that goes on. And you are completely free of pressure. Are you? Huh? Or are you discussing theoretically?
Well, there's academic pressure at least.
Huh?
There's academic pressure at least.
I have included all that, include all that. All pressure means pressure of every kind. But so, are we discussing, talking over together, theoretically or factually?
Could we talk about inward pressure?
Include that. Are you talking over with me together, theoretically? Yes. Shankar says yes. Do you? Be clear. I won't even use the word honest. Be clear. You are, aren't you?
Yes.
Then what's the point of talking over theoretically, hypothetically? What's the point of it?
I don't know. I thought
Just
maybe
for
you-
intellectual amusement? Go on. Can't we talk over together factually? Are you under any pressure? Outwardly or inwardly?
I think we think that the pressure is necessary.
Is it? Who says pressure is necessary? Society may say that. Pressure being you must pass certain examinations, certain A-level, O-level, and get a job, and pressure. Or there is a pressure from your parents. If your parent is an electronic expert, he says, my son is going, etc. There's the whole propaganda, business is pressure. Buy this, don't buy that. So inwardly and outwardly, are you under pressure? If you are, I don't know you are, if you are, do you see the consequences of being put under pressure?
So for that, wouldn't you have to understand what it is like to be without pressure?
No, that's a theory. What is it to be like? What is it like to be without pressure? I don't know. You may not know. So don't speculate about it. What we do know is that we are under pressure. And do you see the consequences of pressure? The result of it. What happens to a human being who is constantly under pressure? Pressure from his wife, from his girl, from his husband, boy, pressure from, etc. No.
You become more and more disorderly.
No. Are you under pressure? Don't theorize.
No, I'm not theorizing.
Now, wait. Are you under pressure?
Yes.
Now, do you see the consequences of it?
Yes. Getting more and more disordered in both the thinking and action.
Isn't there, in pressure, isn't there conflict?
Yeah.
Huh? The greater the pressure, the greater the conflict. Greater struggle to compete and all the rest of it. That the extreme form of pressure leads to neuroticism, right?
Yes.
Right? Are you on mild pressure, therefore you are mildly neurotic? Go on, investigate.
Moderately neurotic.
What?
Moderately neurotic.
Are you do you know you are moderately neurotic? Or you just a theory?
Well, I think up to a point, I think I see it.
Huh?
Up to a point, I think I see it.
That up to a point you see that you are under pressure and slightly neurotic. Is that so? No. You don't use words and then slip out of it. First find out.
I don't understand what you mean by neurotic.
I mean by neurotic, doing things that you really don't want to do. Or doing things that you really want to do. Both. So, if you are under pressure and you see the consequences of being under pressure, which is conflict, continuous conflict, trying to adjust yourself to a pattern, adjust yourself to your wife, to your husband, to your girl, to your boyfriend, and so on, adjusting all the time, which is constant strain, right? Right? Do you see that? Do you see the constant, what happens to your mind that is in a constant strain? That you must do this, you must not do that, that this is right, this is wrong, adjust yourself, don't be selfish, do be selfish. You follow pressure. What happens? You're in constant conflict. What happens to the mind that's in constant battle? Have you ever, you've not been in the war. So, during the war, which lasted how many years? 6 years. Everybody was in constant pressure, right? Which is war. What happens? Go on. Find out what happens if you are under constant pressure. Apparently you are. At least you say you are. Don't you find yourself adjusting to something? To circumstances? Which means what? Why should you adjust yourself? If one lives in a society that's very traditional, or very patriotic, very exclusive, what happens? You are adjusting yourself. What goes on in your state of your mind? Do discover it for yourself. I don't have to tell you what happens. ultimately you have a heart failure, don't you? No? Right? What? That's the ultimate expression of it. So, can you be free of pressure? Is it possible? Pressure from outside or pressure from inside? That you must be like somebody. Or that you must be this, that you must be that. Which means to have no conflict and no strain. You know, you're doing yoga. Some of you are doing it. Yoga is supposed to, when you do yoga, the various forms of breathing exercise, the real yogi doesn't make effort at all of any kind. He does the movements very, very slowly. It may take a week, it may take a month, but no effort. Right? In spite of Mr. Allen. I've been told by the top guru of these people that yoga implies a state of mind in which all effort in breathing exercise is avoided totally. Because when you strain, you develop muscles. Yoga is not the cultivation, muscular cultivation. On the contrary. So that's one direction. And the other is, in our relationship, we are making constant effort to adjust to each other. So, girl, I'm adjusting because I don't want to hurt you, you don't want to hurt me, so we are very polite to each other, adjusting. So when there is constant strain and effort and pressure, is there love? Go on. I like you, that's my preference. Huh? Right? Therefore, I'm adjusting myself. I could, come on, you know all this, don't you? Don't you? Good. Is that love under pressure? So if there is no pressure, and you feel total responsibility, not duty, then what is that state? See, don't theorize. That's the worst thing to do. That's all the philosophers, all the pundits, they all do this. That destroys truth if you theorize. You'll never find truth. So, if you take factually that you are the world and the world is you, and the realization of that brings responsibility. In responsibility there is no pressure. What is that? Isn't that love? I'm using the word temporarily to convey that state of mind that is under no pressure, under no feeling of duty, feeling of the activity of must not, and so on and so on. Huh? Would you call that love? In which there is total responsibility. Not I love you, and therefore I'm responsible to you, and I don't care for the rest.
So, but following logically through that, you are the world and the world is you, then how do you, the world is under pressure, the world is under...
No, the world is you.
Yes.
So you are under pressure.
Yeah, but if the rest of the world is...
Oh, wait, you are the world and the world is you. Right? Right? Which is, the world is under pressure, therefore you are under pressure. Of course. So, can you be free of pressure? And you want to know what love is. Or rather, you want to talk about love. Talk about it. Don't be silent and after ask the question, find out. And don't let me kind of investigate, go into it, and you just listen and go off to sleep. You wanted to know, or you want to talk about love. So I say, is love duty? When there is duty, the very word denies love. Right? You are my mother, therefore it's my duty to look after you. Right? That word is a dreadful word. So, would you call that state love? Or is love only limited to sex, to pleasure? Oh. So, as the world accepts it now, it is pleasure. Right? Right? Which is desire. I desire sex, therefore I love, etc., etc. So you have to question, is love, desire, pleasure? Go on, please, fine.
No.
Theory?
Well, no, I just think it's...
No, is it theory?
Well, I'm thinking about it. So I guess it's theory.
Stick to it. Till you are, don't ever think in speculative. Deal with things actually as it is with you. If my love is based on sex and pleasure and the remembrance of incidents and all the rest of it, is that love? Question it. Don't say it is or it is not. Question it, explore it, find out.
It's pressure.
What's wrong with pleasure?
No, I said pressure.
Pressure. All right. Are you under pressure?
Yes.
Then you see the consequence of it. What happens when you are under pressure, conflict? Trying to adjust yourself, trying to conform, trying to obey. In all that, there is a duality, isn't there? The fact and what you must be. So there is conflict in there. Now, if you live in that state of continuous conflict for the rest of your life, what's going to happen to you?
Misery.
Right? So, if you see the whole consequences of pursuing, of being under pressure, if you see it, not only visually, optically, but observe it, feel it, sense it, taste it, then won't you be out of it? Say, no, I will not live under any pressure, including my own pressures. Can you do it? You may not, because you are young, therefore you don't understand the whole complexity of this problem.
Now, one point is that I might think that without pressure I don't know what to do.
First be free of pressure and we'll find out. You see what? You are already entering into the field of theory. I don't know what to do if I'm... if I have no pressure, I don't know what to do. But you are not. So find out what is the action in which there is no pressure. Which means be free of pressure and then you'll find out.
Could we go more into what is pressure? What's the origin of pressure?
We've been pressure from parents, pressure from society, pressure of every kind.
But then you're saying that there is a possibility of feeling this pressure and also not feeling it. And how is that?
What? See it first. Do you see you are under pressure?
Yes.
Do you find out why? No, this applies to all of us.
Right. Well, I have, various ideas about what should be, right?
Yes. Which means, how does it come about that you have concepts, ideas, you follow that? How? Why does it happen? Have they been imposed on you? Or have you cultivated them? To escape from the actual?
When you're dissatisfied with what is.
Huh?
When you're dissatisfied with what is.
Why are you dissatisfied with what is? Now, go into it. Don't stop there. Find out why are you dissatisfied or discontent with what is. You can only be dissatisfied or discontent when you are comparing what is with something else. Huh? Are you? Aren't you? Now, take that. What is the consequence of comparison? You're always comparing. If try to become a politician better than the present politicians, or become a politician like Gladstone or Disraeli or one of the great. If you want to be a politician, I hope you don't. Or you want to be first-class engineer. Again, you follow? What is the consequence of comparison? Isn't there imitation in it? Right? Isn't there an example that you are following? So you are competing with yourself to be like that. So there's battle going on, isn't there? So you see the consequence of strife, struggle, conflict in yourself, don't you? What happens? God, you must be exhausted at the age of 12. So, let's see. Can you live without pressure? Can you live without comparison? Which means no conflict, no struggle. Compete, example, copy, imitation, be, follow? Can you? You will, if you see the total consequences of pressure or comparison. It's natural. When you see something very dangerous, you don't touch it. When you see a bottle marked poisonous, you don't go and drink it, unless you have something wrong with you. Unless you want to commit suicide. But none of us want to commit suicide. Therefore, when you see a poisonous a bottle marked poison, you don't drink it. You don't have to be told. You don't experiment with it. You'll be gone. So in the same way, can you see the immense danger of pressure and conflict and comparison?
Sir?
Don't get bored with it yet.
Sir? Freud asked about the origin of pressure.
Huh?
Freud asked about the origin of pressure.
Or the beginning of pressure?
Yes. And you mentioned external circumstances as part of it. Yes? Well, I was
Begin from the outer and then work from the outer to the inner.
Yes, well, I was thinking of an example. Say with examinations. If you see, if you take an examination, it seems to it puts a pressure
I may want to pass A level and O level because I want to get a job. To me, that matters very much. I accept it. I'll work for it. I'll struggle for it. And you may say, how absurd. I can read books and so on. I don't have to pass exams. You may be under different kind of pressure, and I may be another kind of pressure. Right? We are talking of pressure altogether, not exams or belief and so on. Pressure, you understand? Is it difficult? Huh? So proceed from there. Don't just go back again. If we'll go back unless if you say, I really don't understand, for goodness sake explain, we'll go into it. So, can you live without any kind of pressure? Without any kind of struggle, comparison, pressure, duty, all that. Find out. Don't accept it, that's all. Don't accept that you must live under pressure. Then your life becomes an appalling struggle and an ugly thing. Find out. Then also, if you are under no pressure, and you see that you are the world and the world is you, and therefore total responsibility, then invariably from that you ask, what is love there? They talk a great deal about it in books, and this, and the cinema, this, and everybody is talking about it. Well, then find out, what is love? Is love duty? Is love pressure? Is love comparing, I love you more than that person?
So we already established that
Huh?
when there is duty and pressure, there is no love. So how can love?
Wait, so don't find out. So don't use the word then love. Right? Don't use the word or or convey to me a totally wrong impression that you love me when you're under pressure. And if you are seeking pleasure, sexually and otherwise, is that love? So, when you find out for yourself, not theoretically but actually, in daily life with facts, not with suppositions, with hypotheses and speculations, then out of that comes tremendous passion, which you wanted to know. How can I have passion if I'm under pressure? Sounds so ridiculous. Is it passion? Is there passion when I follow duty? Is there passion when I'm really remembering the pleasure and then pursuing it? Is that passion? You see, what is important in this is not to accept anything from the speaker, from me, or from me, but to investigate, go into it, examine, explore for yourself, and live a life in which there is no pressure. If you say, how am I? Tell me a method which will help me to be free of pressure. The method becomes the pressure, doesn't it? No? Huh? What do you say? So, what will you do if you abandon systems, methods? You put that aside, you are free of one pressure, aren't you? Go into it that way. If you follow somebody and you feel very comfortable and he encourages you, said, my dear chap, you're doing very well, you will reach nirvana or heaven or illumination in about 2 years, that's also a pressure. Right? And the priest comes along and tells you, you must have faith in God, because you are suffering and all the rest of it. So if you have faith in God, everything will be all right. That's a form of pressure. No? So, and your mother or father said, darling, do this for my sake. Become an artist. When I haven't become an artist, but I want to be an artist, I have failed in it, but you become an artist, darling, you have got the capacity. That's a pressure. So can you move away from the whole field of pressure? Find out. Not say, please tell me how to get out of it. If I tell you, then it becomes a, you get it? Then I become the pressure. So can you, seeing all this, seeing what it means to be responsible, not for my country, for my dog, for my husband, the quality of responsibility. Obviously, when there is such responsibility, there is no duty. I am not responsible because you tell me, or because you are my mother or my husband or my wife or my girlfriend, and I have to look after you. It's a duty that how can I leave you? It's my responsibility. You follow? I leave you and take on another girl, and I feel responsible. In fact, I don't feel responsible. I'm pursuing my own particular pleasure. No?
Yeah, it seems that responsibility is something much wider, because, like, when you say I have a duty, it's very limited to one thing.
Yeah, that's right.
So, for example, if it's your duty to go to the war, but you don't have this feeling of duty, but responsibility, then you say, but it's not my responsibility to humanity not to do it, you see?
Yes.
So it's much more ranging.
That's right. Now, do you feel that? Do you realize it? Not just words. See, most of us, because we are under great strain, conflict, struggle, pressure, we lose passion. We may have lust. Lust is different from passion. Lust, I lust after a woman. Lusting. Don't you know what it means?
No.
I want something. I may want sex. And I seek it. I pursue it. I twist everything for me to get what I want. Generally sexual. It's called lust. I think that also probably, that word may include, I'm lusting after becoming a president of this country, or the ambition, the drive, the feeling, the state which says I must fulfill my sexual desires or any form of desire. What do you say, sir? Mr. Joe? So, what shall we do now? You see, we have talked really very, very seriously. Now, there's another point I'd like to discuss. Are you serious? You know what that word means? In that word is included being humorous, having laughter, and being, enjoy everything. But basically, inwardly, very, very, very serious. Not serious about something. I'm very serious. I want to pass an exam and get a job. I'm very serious. That's one kind of seriousness. Or I may think I'm God, I'm dreadfully serious about it. I'm loading. I may think I'm Napoleon, and you follow? So are you serious? Not trying to become something, but just being serious. Are you? Huh? You're not?
Well, there's the implication of becoming something very strongly.
I said that may be serious. You might want to become a governor of something, or the minister, or a businessman, and be serious about it. Haven't you noticed some lunatics, demented people? They're dreadfully serious. They insist to have their desire fulfilled. Right? They are too serious. A man in an illusion, saying that there is God, or there is Jesus, there is this, there is that, that's a form of illusion, and believing it most profoundly and seriously. All Christendom is based on that.
But is that being serious?
That's a part of seriousness. There are also people who are very, very caught in a certain concept, like the communists and so on, the totalitarian people. They're dreadfully serious. They are serious to send you to concentration camp. So, are you like that? In any of we pointed out the seriousness of a demented person. right? Demented, slightly, not slightly, completely gone mentally, but he feels that he is Napoleon, or he feels that he is God, he feels that he has great message, conclusion to give to humanity, and he is very, very serious about it. He gives up everything, goes around the world and knocks on every door, and everybody wants to, for God's sake, get out. So he's very serious. And the man who's deeply committed to Catholicism, communism, or some kind of ism, he's dreadfully serious. They have burnt people, right? They have sent people because they believe in this. It may be wrong, it may be crooked, it may be cruel, it may be obnoxious, it may be terrible, everything. But they are serious, right? Now, are you serious in all these directions? Or you are merely serious? You understand? Because if you are serious, then it becomes great fun to go into everything. But if you are slightly serious, superficial, then it becomes no point in it. You follow? So you have to find out if you are serious about something. Like a man who is demented, he is serious. Like a man who is got, or a woman who has got certain ideas, certain concepts, certain beliefs, and he's serious about those beliefs. A man who wants to become the president of a company, he works his way up down the ladder and very, very, very serious. Right? And so on. Are you serious like that? In that manner? Because if you're serious in that manner, you are digging very superficial affair. But if you are serious in the different sense, you can dig very, 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 very deep. If you want to. So you have to find out for yourself, if you want to live a superficial life, a worldly life, a life of, all the rest of it. Or you want to live a serious life, which will also mean that you are occupied with the world but not entirely off it. You understand what I mean? Oh, for goodness, come on, Shankar.
So, but it's something hypothetical to me.
No, find out, I said. In that, there is no hypothesis. I should find out, am I serious? I said, I've included in that seriousness laughter, amusement, enjoyment.
What about energy?
You have plenty of energy if you're not expending it on becoming something. You've got tremendous energy. More than the man who says, I'm going to become a scientist, a bishop or a pope. So I'm asking you, find out for yourself if you are serious. Don't tell me you are or you are not. I'm not asking. I'm saying find out, explore, see the consequences of not being serious. If you want to play guitar, play it seriously.
So, but you just pointed out the danger of being serious towards something.
Be that, find out.
I mean, if I was a serious communist,
So well, find out. You may not want to be serious about any of these things. You may not. Or you may be serious about one of these things.
but isn't that a dangerous thing for, if nothing else, for other people? If I become a very serious communist or
And I said, sir, find out if you become a serious communist, what is implied in it. Or if you want to be serious about something, what's implied in it? Say you play guitar and you become very serious about it. What is the state of your mind that's occupied entirely with one thing? Or with one set of beliefs? Like the communists. Their belief in certain things, a set of things. He's committed, he's totally serious. What happens to such a man? And because he's so dreadfully serious, and if you're not, he's going to do something to you. Send you concentration camp, destroy you, liquidate you. Because he believes in it so strongly. The Roman Church, you know the history of it, which is they burnt people because they were serious. Right? They tortured people in the name of Jesus, in the name of all the rest of it. So find out for yourself if you are serious about all these things. Serious about getting married. Having a house, children. Find out. Don't say it's wrong, right, it's good or bad. Inquire. And that inquiry makes you more profoundly serious. But if you accept, well, everybody marries, so I must marry, or the later fashion is nobody marries, everybody lives with each other. You follow? Find out. See, out of all this, what comes out of all this? We've discussed responsibility. We've talked about love, except the state of insight and thought, which you raised, the question. What is thought, what is insight? We haven't dealt with it. We will presently. We've got 20 minutes more. What comes out of this? You understand my question? We've talked about responsibility, right? Discussed it, went into it. We talked about passion. We talked about love. Pressure, conformity, duty. When you see all this clearly, when you see this objectively and also inwardly, what comes out of that? And then we talk a little bit about serious. What's you have dug the soil, and the very digging of it produces a certain, when you dig deeply in the earth, it has got certain smell, haven't you? Certain scent. So what is the scent you have after digging? Aren't you much more, aren't you intelligent? More, aren't you? More clear? Are you? Don't theorize, either you are or you are not, don't pretend. And also you ask that question, what is insight and what is thought? Didn't you, sir? Should we go into that? Would you like to go into it? You know what thought is, don't you? We said the origin of thought, the beginning of thought, is when the brain, like a tape recorder, registers. Right? The brain registers an incident, a happening, and from that happening, there are certain thoughts arising. Right? Right? Do you see that? You have registered as a Hindu, as a Brahmin, and from that registration there are certain reactions, certain thoughts. So the beginning of thought is the fact of registration. Like a computer which has been programmed, because it's been informed, told, etc. Therefore it always responds, gives you the answer according to its registration. Right? That's simple, isn't it? Right, let's proceed. So, the beginning of thought is registration, which is memory, which is the accumulated knowledge of thousands of years of humanity has inherited all the rest of it. So, all that is registration. And from that, the movement of thought. I don't think anybody can deny this. Even the most cleverest brain specialist. This is a fact. Now let's proceed from there. That is thought arising from the past, right? Registration is the past, right? Just go with me, understand verbally even, then we'll come to it later. Registration means remembering what has happened, right? Stored in the brain. And that registration, when challenged, responds as thought, right? You can observe it yourself, in yourself. There has been an incident, a car accident, or some kind of happy or unhappy incident, which is immediately registered. Then thought arises and thinking about it. Then thought says, there is a me which is different from the thought. Have you noticed that? I am different from the registration. Haven't you noticed it? No? Come on, clap. You must be tired today. So, division takes place when I am different from thought. right? That's why you try to control your thought. You try to control your anger. Or you try to suppress jealousy, thinking that you are different from jealousy. Right?
Yes.
But you are there, aren't you? You are jealous. When you are angry, is your anger different from you? Huh? Go on. You are that, aren't you? But thought, you see, has done a clever thing, a clever and illusory thing. It says thought is changing, but as thought is constantly in momentum, flux, there must be something that's permanent. So thought says, me, which is product of thought, is different from that. You get it? Do you understand this? So, thought has built the me, the name, the form, the qualities, the nationality, blah, 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 all that, and that says this is permanent, but anger is impermanent. It's not me. So it does something about anger. Suppresses, rationalizes it, escapes from it, and so on, so on. Right? So there is a division created by thought, because thought itself is limited. Because it is the outcome of registration. It's the outcome of the past. Right? You follow this? So it is limited. And this limited thought says, I will explore the universe, I'll explore the eternal, I'll explore the nameless, God. Because it says, I have created God. I'll explore what I have created. You understand? Doesn't matter. You get it? So, see, thought is fragmentary. Thought is limited. Thought is time-binding. Thought is the outcome of registration, which is the past. Now, can thought have an inside? You follow all this? Inside being I'll go into it. I'll go into it with you, if you will follow it carefully. Inside being, what the word implies, to have a sight in something. To have a sight, an understanding, an observation, without conclusion, into, say for instance, the danger of a precipice. You have an insight there.
So when you're doing something that is slightly less obvious, then you have this sort of self-perception that this danger does not apply to you, it applies to everyone else.
Yes, of course, that's part of the trick of thought. Now, he asked me, what is insight and what is thought? Right? We said thought is all this, registration, all that. But thought is limited, isn't it? It's fragmentary. You see why it's fragmentary? Because it's based on a past memory, past registration. Right? Therefore, it's limited. Insight is not limited because it has nothing to do with thought. I have an insight into the whole organization of the Church, of Catholicism, with all its beliefs, with all its dogmas, with all its absurdities, with rituals, with its worship of personality, with its, which may have existed or not, Jesus may have existed or not. It is You have an insight into the whole structure of authority, which is not the rationalization of a thought, the reasoning of thought. I wonder, am I making confusion more confused? I have an insight into the whole structure of authority. What does that mean? I see instantly what is authority, what's the result of authority. See it completely, which is not possible if I merely rationalize, examine, investigate thoughtfully, reasonably, logically into the whole nature of authority. That will lead me to a conclusion, which is again partial, limited, because it's the result of thought. Whereas insight is not limited, because it's not the product of thought. There is insight only when the thought is in abeyance, is not functioning for the moment. From insight you can reason. Then it will be logical, sane, rational. But if you reason, logical, it may lead you quite wrongly, because it's partial. Oh, come on, you understand? Have you understood this somewhat?
So you're making it too black and white. Surely registration has a place in this insight. Like when you say you have an insight into the Catholic Church, you know you've registered certain things about the church.
No. I say, for instance, I won't go into personal history. There was an insight into the whole organization of any religion. Separate. So therefore you abandoned that. If you logically followed it, you say, I can logically say, well, this is very comfortable, I'll be the head of it, I'll have plenty of money, I'll have a position, people will worship. Logically that leads to. But when there is an insight, you abandon all that.
Sir, I think, isn't Shankar, I think Shankar was suggesting that you obviously can't have an insight into organized religion, let's say, unless you have
thought about
it.
No, I didn't think about it.
Or at least
you got it wrong.
Or heard people talk about it.
Huh?
I didn't say think about it, so I said register certain facts around religion that people do, you see it, people go to church on Sundays, you see it,
That's deduction, isn't it? Deducing from facts, deducing from knowledge, deducing from talking over, seeing. That's all deductions, aren't they? Deduction has nothing to do with insight.
No, but I'm not suggesting that the insight is deductive through deduction, but that somehow before there has been.
Yeah.
I mean,
I tell you.
I mean, a little baby doesn't have insight into the structure of organized religion.
You're not a baby. Come to
yes, I know, but
you go into it.
Isn't it some prior knowledge of the subject? Are you implying that there has to be some prior knowledge of the subject before you can consider?
You must have knowledge about the thing before you have an insight.
Yeah.
I say no.
Then you wouldn't know what is being done.
I'm going to explain following. The sequence of deduction leads to certain conclusions. Right? I conclude after examination, talking over, observing, reading, that any organized religion is a factor of division. Right? Right? I have concluded, I've examined, I've observed, I've thought, I've read, I've talked to the priests, and I've talked to many. That is, I come to, after careful examination, logically, sanely, I hope, and say I've come to a conclusion that all churches are divisive process. Right? Divide people. Now, is there perception without going through this process? Without examining, analyzing, deducting, all the rest of it.
But I'm not suggesting analyzing or any of that sort of thing, but, well, say technical knowledge. I mean, you know that, say, when you see a building, that it's called a church. And not that you analyze and string together a series of arguments based on those facts, but that, I mean, you know that there are those facts there, and then maybe you see something about that.
No. Sorry, this has to be gone into very carefully.
I think there's a misunderstanding.
There's a misunderstanding, yes. I know.
If one has to have certain factual knowledge about the thing, whatever it is, organized religion or something else. One has to know what
you see,
talking about.
There are two things involved. Either I can lead my life logically, sanely, reasonably, after observing, examining, exploring, tracing, come to a conclusion and live according to that conclusion. Right? Just look at it. There's the other way, which is no conclusion at all, but direct insight. But for that you say, you must have technical knowledge of outer things. Of course, for outer things you have to. But for a life in which there is no conflict, blah, 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 all that stuff, it is possible only when there is insight into the whole structure.
So, but is that insight into having observed a certain set of facts?
No. You are still, I know what you are trying to say. Don't say, I'm not understanding. I understand. You observe facts, right? Yeah. Anger, that's a fact. Jealousy, fact. Fear, fact. You observe that, and through observation, you have an insight. Is that it? What you are saying that, aren't you? I say no. I may be cuckoo, but find out. I may be talking nonsense, but find out. Let me put it this way. That there are two types of learning. One, through action, right? I act, and from that acting, I learn. And there is the other, I learn without acting, and then from learning, act. Do you see this? Do you see this clearly? I learn from books, from technical books, or arithmetic and all the rest of it, and from that knowledge, from that background, I act. There is the other, which is I act and through action learn. Right? I don't know anything about electronics, and as I play with it, I learn. So there are these two types, so-called two different types, but they are not. Just listen to me quietly for 2 minutes. One says, learn first and then act. The other says, like Mao and the others, says, go out in acting, learn. Right? You see this clearly? Aren't they both the same? Now, listen carefully. I'm asking you a serious question. Aren't they both the same? Because they're both at the end acting from knowledge. Right? Huh? Do you see this? Do see first. First, don't question it. Fine. I'm telling you a story. First, listen to it. There's a whole group of people who say, learn first, and then act. That is, learn all about engineering, mathematics, various pressures in mathematics and so on. Then act. Then you will act because you become an engineer, because you've learned. The other says, go out and act, and then learn from action. Right? Which is, both of them depend on knowledge. Right? Right? Is this clear? Oh, come on. Now, what makes you see they're both the same?
Thinking about...
Wait, you didn't reason. Listen first. Don't argue. Listen first. You are ready to argue. Don't argue. Wait. Gee willikins. Just listen first. How difficult for all of you to listen first. You're going on with your own thoughts. Don't. First, listen to what the poor chap has to say. One says, learn, act. The other says, act, from action, learn. The result of the two result in having knowledge and acting from knowledge. Though they think they're separate, they're acting from knowledge. That's all I'm saying. Now, when you listen quietly, you see this. Acting from knowledge, there are acting, then knowledge. So they're both, I'm going to ask a question, wait, carefully listen. They're both functioning from knowledge. You see that, don't you? The seeing of it is insight, isn't it? We haven't discussed it, we haven't explored it, we haven't rationalized it. You follow?
Yes.
We just listen first. God.
Yes, so I see with the bridge now between the two. You see, the technical knowledge that I was saying is that I would, that insight into it would not be possible if I did not know the English language.
Oh, come on.
All
right, I see what
knowledge
you
is
mean.
necessary.
You and I have English knowledge. Both of us speak English, right? So I'm using English words to communicate what I want to tell you. Of course.
Yes, there's some technical knowledge.
No, that's understood.
Okay, well, that's where
that's if I spoke Greek, you say, what the devil are you talking about? But since I'm speaking English, and you and I both understand English, because both of us know what the words mean and so on, we take that for granted. Right? Because you understand what I'm saying. It's time for lunch. You understand that. If I said it in French or Latin, you wouldn't understand it. So, both of us understand English. That's understood. So I'm telling you in English, not in French, in English, that there are these two supposed systems. One says, learn first and then act. The other says, act and through action learn. Right? That's I've conveyed a meaning in English. Now I say, these two imply acting ultimately from knowledge. That's all I've said. Do you see do you have an insight? Seeing that is insight. Therefore, you say there must be a different way of acting which is not from learning acting or acting and learning. You understood this? Oh, do you get this? That is insight. to capture that is insight. Not what will happen if you don't do these two, but to see that both of them ultimately come to the same thing, which is functioning from knowledge. I'm taking that as an example. So, insight implies you look at the problem without any conclusion, without any opinion, without any judgment. Then you can see the fullness of the problem. But if you come to it with an opinion, you've already decided. So, insight demands great freedom to look. You are not free when you have conclusions, knowledge, and all the rest of it. Right? That's enough for this morning, don't you? Lunchtime.